Alright guys, I got the electrical issue all figured out. If you watched that last video, if not, go ahead and check it out. Tell me what you think. What we're going to work on now is, like I said, finally, we're going to get to the welding cart. I'm going to build a welding cart. I've been needing one. I have my little 140 Lincoln wire feed welder. It's what I could afford, it's what I got. Eventually down the road, I'll upgrade, but it's neither here nor there. What we need is we need a cart for that so I can finally get everything secured nice and proper. And what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to run you through the tools that I think I'm going to need, and I kind of have them pulled out and set up. I already got my steel selected. I hope I have enough. Kind of bought what I knew I could afford, and I have a nice little selection over there in the corner. So worst comes to worst, we'll go in there and we'll Fabricobble something up and get everything to work. So we'll go over quickly what I plan on building, and then I'll go over the tools that I have pre-selected and set up. I want to create a nice box for this to rest on, and then we'll put a spot here in the back for my gas tank to rest in, and then we'll put some wheels on the bottom. I might make another spot or a couple of spots on there so I can like hang my helmet, have somewhere to put my welding jacket. I could have somewhere to put extra wire, things like that, consumables, and store it all in the same spot so I'm not running around my shop trying to figure out where I put it last and stuff like that, working towards getting this place organized a little bit better. So we'll get started on that. What I got selected here is kind of the tools that I think I'm going to need. I got several marking devices here, a couple of metal scribes, Sharpie, an oil pen, and then these Pay Tool pencils. Now these, they either seem to work really well or they don't work for two fucks, and I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe they're contaminated with dirt and grime. Got a center punch here just in case we need to drill some holes. I don't think we will, because we're going to be welding these bad boys in place. And before anybody says anything, yes, that's zinc that's on there, and yes, I'm going to clean them out. Also, I'm not going to breathe it in. I ain't too worried about it. Got some 90-degree welding magnets here. Some of you guys might have seen those from prior videos on where I made some jokes about it. Measuring stick, small carpenter's square, speed square. I do have some clamps pre-selected and brought out here. Those might get expanded upon. We have our 4.5 inch, I think it's a 4.5 or 4 inch, yeah, 4.5 inch grinder here with cutoff wheel. We also have a 4.5 inch with a wire wheel to help clean off the mill scale that's on these so you can get better welds. I also got my welding gloves, welding helmet. I did at one point have a auto darkening welding helmet, which is phenomenal if you can afford to get one. Problem is I was welding and something happened and I sat up real quick and I smashed it, so it doesn't work as well as it should. So I'm gonna get some initial measurements right now and I'll get back to you and we'll start slicing and dicing on the abrasive chop box. Now with this, I know I said I was gonna try and put like a spark shield up here, but right now I don't have an easy way of doing it nor the materials to go about it, so just kind of got it spread out here. My garage door is going to get a little bit of sparks on it, but that's what it is. All the fun stuff of getting a new shop set up. Alrighty, we got everything sliced and diced. I did a little bit of surface prep on it. Holy shit. I can see my breath. Yeah, it's getting cooler around where I'm at, so doing projects out here is going to be a little bit of an issue, mostly because of lack of heat. But nice thing when winter rolls around, I do have things that I can do out here, like smithing, metal casting, things like that, to where I can get some heat in here. Anyways, pressing on. So we got everything sliced and diced. I got these beveled and cut. Most of these actually fit pretty well. I was gonna use this guy, but it's too thick to fit in here, so it was making everything kittywampus. So what I did is I went and I took this bad boy, threw it in there, and like, you know, like I've said before, we're not building a watch, but the more precise we can do this, the better off we are on more complicated projects. So I got my ground clamp here, got this. I'm gonna throw on my welding gloves and such, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clear out stuff around here. I'm gonna tack weld these outside corners first, and the reason being is when you weld this, it's gonna wanna pull these together, so then the outside edges here are gonna spread apart. So if I can go through and hit these real quick, hopefully they'll all fight each other and she won't get too much out of square. At least that's the idea behind it. Okay, so all you guys heard that. It's not exactly perfectly set, so we're going to increase our voltage a little bit. I think our wire speed's fine. That's better. When you do this, it should sound like bacon. Let's lay down some beads. So got those all tacked. You shouldn't be moving anywhere. Now we'll go and hit the bottoms here. Got a little bit of a gap on some of these, as you can see right there. Obviously my cutting wasn't perfect, but some of them actually turned out pretty well, like this corner and this one. Those actually came out pretty good. Not too bad. I ain't gonna win any awards with these, but good enough for the girls that don't do what I do. So I didn't account for the thickness of my metal when I welded this up, and we are exactly 1/4 of an inch shy, or a 1/4 of an inch shy, 1/4 of an inch shy on both lengths, and I'll show you what I mean. So our measurement was 10 1/4, and width, yeah, so it's 10 inches on the inside, missing 1/4 that way, and then lengthwise 18 3/4 on the out, but on the inside we're at 18 1/2. So I lost my 1/4 inch both because I didn't account for my thickness. So now what do I do? Well, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my cutoff wheel, I'm gonna slice the welds that I just did, and then I'm gonna space them out properly and try and fill in that gap. I know I'm not supposed to, but it's about the only option I have. So, whoopsie. So, got everything cut. I got these two corners tack welded, just in place. They're at 90 degrees. What I'm gonna do is I got these clamped, or this half clamped to the table. These are not welded. You can see that I got the magnets there to try and line it up to a level. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my measuring stick and I'm gonna get my inside dimension the right way, the right setting, and then using the magnets, and hopefully I'll be able to bridge that gap there with the welder. Not the ideal way of doing it, but I only have X amount of material to try and get this done, so that's what I'm gonna do. 10 1/4, 10 1/4. That's definitely gonna be one hell of an ugly weld, but that's why this is amateur hour. Good there. Good there. Good there. Good there. Alright, so now I'm gonna try and fill these. This is gonna take a little while. I'm probably gonna end up having to do a tap, 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 and slowly try and build this piece out using the welder and doing the same thing here. And that's the wonderful thing about working with steel. If you screw up, you can literally stretch it. I'll work on this, start getting this built up, and then once we get to that point, we'll try test fitting again, and hopefully it works this time. Worst case scenario, third time's the charm, right? Alright, well, I just did a test fit, and despite having a little bit of a holy experience, it does fit. So I'm gonna press on with the plan and filling in these two gaps with the welder, and then we'll finish up welding these two other corners. We'll get those all welded back together, and then from there we'll put in some of that flat plate that I got. I'll also need to start working on something for the gas cylinder. I think I started on this project a while back, and I think I already have some angle iron welded up that'll fit that one, and get that mounted to this, and then we'll have our base set, and then from there we'll work on building somewhere to store everything and where to hang the cords and all that fun stuff. So when we get to that point, I'll show you, I'll bring you along, but I'm gonna finish welding this up, and yeah, I'll get back to you. It's ugly, like uglier than me. And that's saying something. You get the idea. Alrighty, I was able to find that piece, the gas tank for the welder. What we're gonna do is we're gonna measure it out. We're gonna split the difference here, and we're gonna weld these together like this. These bad boys are 8 inches wide, and then we're gonna cut two pieces at 8.5, like that. Same thing over here. 8.5, and that's because the inside of this bad boy, I do believe, is 8.5 inches. Yeah, 8.5. Might have to take a little off the top, but both sides are the same. And then this is 17 inches long on the inside here. So we're gonna have a 1-inch gap here in the middle, but these are gonna create the bottoms here for this, so the welder can mount and sit in here and not just have this lip. And then that'll also give us a surface to mount our wheels to. And then I'm gonna have to do some measuring for this back here, get this cut. So the cylinder doesn't fit this perfectly, but it fits it well enough. But I'm gonna throw a nice flat piece in here also, so I don't have to worry about that going anywhere. And then from there, we'll probably take some vertical pieces and go up to probably 2/3 the height. I haven't measured that out, but around there. And I think I got some chain over there, and we'll weld that to that. And yeah, moving along better, and looks a lot better after you take a grinder after it. We'll get those bad boys cut. I'll swap out the discs on the grinder, so we can just use the angle grinder on that. This is too wide for me to use it on the abrasive chop box. Alrighty, and we are back. So I got 2 pieces for this cutout. They do fit. This one I'm gonna have to tap into place. It's a nice snug fit, but this one was a little bit loose. So I'm gonna use the magnets to kind of hold it up while I get it tacked in place. And then I'm gonna have to do the same trick with this guy back here to get this in place. And another thing that we're gonna end up having to do as I'm welding this is I'm gonna have to do like a weld here, and try and skip it around. Because even though it's plate steel, I want to try and have a nice, good bead all the way around here. What can happen is you get warpage from having heat in different spots. So I'm going to do a bunch of good tacks, and then I'll probably connect those together. I think it's safe to say that's not going anywhere. A little cold up here, but once the heat got worked in down here, she came out nice. You can kind of tell where I went over my spot welds. So those of you guys who actually know what you're doing, you can make fun of me down there in the angry section. Not too bad. A little weevilly wobbly. I'm gonna blame that on the pot and a half of coffee, but don't matter. So we got that. We got this side. Again, a little cold, I think, in some spots. And again, I didn't really adjust my settings too much for this. I think I got my voltage set pretty well, but I don't think the wire speed was set right where it needs to be. So, well, we got that all welded up. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out exactly how I want to mount the wheels. Initially, I was thinking I was just going to mount it straight there to the bottom, but hindsight, looking at that a little bit more, I'm going to want it to be a bit more stable. So I might take some angle iron or possibly some plate steel, combination thereof, and spread the wheels up just a little bit more. Probably more in the back where that cylinder is. I might take some angle iron back there and spread it out there, and then the front, I'll just leave that as the front. So yeah, let me think about that and ponder it for a bit, and then I'll get back to you. So after a quick pondering of thought, what I decided was I measured the outside of this. I'll show you kind of what I did there. Measured it like that, that's the front side. And what we're gonna do here is that came out to about 19 inches. And the idea is this will get welded to the bottom and or the front. I might go on the front side actually. And we will take this and we will put the wheels like so. And like so. I'll put 2 cuts right here on the chop box there. And then I think I'm actually gonna try and flush this top with this. That way we don't put our height too much. I want to do this wider than what's there just because I want the stability. I accidentally knocked over my welder once. I don't want to do that again. So what we got going on here in this crazy setup is I got these clamps. Well, I got to clamp this one down still. But the idea here is so I can clamp these down, and I know these two 3x2s are the same length. So clamp those together, it'll hopefully make it a bit more square. Should line up pretty well. I got marks up here in the front. Let's see if I can get those on camera. Yep. Right there and right there. And that should get everything about the same level. I would try and throw this on a level gauge and everything like that and do it all nice and proper, but I know my floor, the concrete, one, is not level, and then two, on top of that, this welding table isn't exactly perfect either, so I'm dealing with a lot of variables. I'm going to try and get it as best as I can. There we go, I'm shaking the rust off. Some of you guys may be wondering why I was flipping back and forth from side to side and going back and like that. Reason being is I'm doing some pretty long beads here, and that's a lot of heat to be sinking into one area. And one of the things that happens is obviously metal, when it's hot, it's expanded, and then as it cools, it's going to constrict, and that's going to put tension in whatever you're trying to weld up, and that's one of the causes for warping. Flipping back and forth like that is one of the things that I know of to help fight warping. And that way you have a bead over here and it's trying to squeeze this corner together, we'll go into the opposite corner, getting that, and then those two are fighting each other. And then again, same thing there, and then I only have the middle. And I did the same thing on this side. This is a little towards the top end of what my welder can do. Granted, both of these are 1/8 inch thick, I do believe. The 3x2 square tubing here might be a bit thicker than that, but yeah, that little 120 isn't much for anything thicker than this. So we got these. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get set up to clean these up a bit around the holes. I'm gonna do that plug weld to get rid of the galvanized coating that's on it. So I'll get set up to do that, and then we'll get back to it and I'll do some plug welds. Alright, now before anybody says anything, I did try to get all the zinc plating off in the areas that I could, but I can't get in here with any of the tools that I have, and there's a couple of areas on the other ones, so there is still galvanizing on this. So what I'm doing is I'm welding, but I'm going to be back further. So I'm not breathing in the immediate fumes, and I'm only doing some quick spot welds, and I'll hop back and forth. That way it gives the gas and everything time to go away. Ideally, I probably should be doing this with some sort of ventilation. I like to think my building is breezy enough as is, but I'm going to step back. I'm going to weld these so you guys can kind of see what that white smoke looks like. See that? Nice little white wisps. When I get done with these, I'll bring you in close and you can see some of the white wisps actually on what I'm welding. Woo. Now for close up. Yeah, let's see if we can get that on camera here. You can kind of see how it does that white. That's the zinc becoming zinc oxide, and that is a poisonous gas. And like I said earlier, I'm not exactly sure what makes it poisonous or what it does to you, but all I know is it's not good to breathe. Some plug welds, and these, I got a fair amount of zinc off of these bad boys, so I'm not too worried about these ones. But those ones back there were the real culprits, so. Alright guys, I think we're going to call it there for part one. I got a lot of footage. This video is taking longer than I expected, but there will be a part two for this welding cart build. We're going to work on the next part of getting the vertical posts in the back so that the gas cylinder has something to actually use the chain to hold it in place. And then we're going to work on probably some sort of storage area on it once we get to that point. So that's what's going to be in store for part two. Probably also going to do something so I can have a handle to kind of push it around with. And on top of that, we're going to want to get some, I guess, I don't know what the hell you call them, cable holders. So those will sit nicely on there and they're not draped all over the place. So stay tuned. I'll catch you on the next one. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, leave some comments down in the angry section, and y'all Fabricobble on, all right?